Welcome everybody. My friend Cloudia is here again today. I'm hoping maybe someone else will join us too, but that's okay if not. So today I wanted to just talk about the things I do during the day and the things that I do to hopefully change my vibration for the long term, so to change my future. So I believe that's part of the spiritual path. Again, going back to us being signals. If we can release tension stored in our side of our body, then we're a different signal. We're emitting a different signal and we're attracting a different signal back to our future. So when we do this work, we change our now and we change our future. So what do I do during the day? Well, the first thing I do is as soon as I wake up, I feel. I don't think, I feel. I feel where the tension is inside my body. And when we wake up in the morning, we're pretty normally in a relaxed state. So I find this is one of the best times to do the intense release work. So I feel where that tension is. Where am I not relaxed? Where could I relax more? And I feel that tension. I put my focused awareness on that tension and I allow it to release. I probably do that for at least 10 to 15 minutes. And that's really, really deep release work. Then I pick up my phone and I start looking through things. And as I'm doing that, I'm noticing how I'm feeling, right? I'm noticing if it's triggering me in any way and what my reaction is. And there isn't much these days, but there are things that do trigger me, like the earthquake that we've just experienced in Turkey and Syria. That reminds me of the Loma Prieta earthquake, right? It brings up emotions, triggers inside of me. So I notice that and I pay attention to those feelings and I feel them. I allow myself to rest in those feelings. And then I move on. And when I eventually get up, I walk down my hallway. I notice as I'm walking down my hallway how my body feels. Where is the tension? Where am I feeling some tension or pain or whatever as I'm walking down the hallway? And I stop once I get to the kitchen. I rest against the kitchen counter and I feel that tension. I just allow it to be felt. And then I allow it to release. And then I put the kettle on or whatever I'm going to do. So that's kind of the first thing during the day. Then, at some point I sit down at my computer. First thing I do when I sit down is notice where the tension is. For me, when I sit down, the tension that will draw my attention is in my left cheek normally. So I'll spend a few minutes feeling that tension and allowing it to release. Now, I had one really good example from the kitchen this morning. There is a rose in a little vase in the kitchen, and it was given to my son, to his girlfriend, beautiful red rose, and they broke up last night. Now, I really like his girlfriend, love my son, obviously. So this rose is in the kitchen. I noticed it as soon as I got there, and I thought, oh, my son gave that to his girlfriend. And I could just avoid everything involved around that by throwing away. I could get rid of the rose because it has attachments, it has thought attachments, it has emotional attachments to it, and yet it's just a rose, right? So if I threw it away, I would be suppressing all those thoughts and those emotions because I wouldn't see the rose, I wouldn't be triggered by that anymore, and I would just be avoiding it. Or I can just leave the rose there and notice my thoughts and my emotions every time I see it and use that as a learning, as a teaching tool to release deeper. So that's what I've done. I've left it on the counter. It's just a rose, right? It doesn't have to have any attachments. It's just a beautiful rose. If I'm giving it thoughts or emotions, that's inside of me. And it's my work to let that go and just see it as a beautiful rose. So that's one example of something that you can use during the day. Just notice what triggers you. So also one of the things I try and notice during the day, especially if I'm sitting down at the computer or something, is where I'm breathing, how I'm breathing. If I'm holding my breath, why am I holding it? If I'm holding it, I don't just automatically let go, because again, that's kind of suppressing it. That's kind of ignoring what was going on. So if I'm holding my breath, if I'm holding tension somewhere, I will keep my tension now, keep my attention on that tension and allow it to be felt and to release. Then I will take a deep breath as that tension releases. So that's a really subtle difference between what I've experienced that has allowed me to go really deep and what we hear other people saying, take a deep breath. And I used to say it too, just to let the breath go, to relax. But really, we want to hold our attention on the tension, allow it to be felt. And then the breath comes naturally. Then in the evening, if I'm watching something on TV, on Netflix or whatever, I will almost constantly be doing release work. Now, I couldn't do this at the beginning, right? I couldn't multitask at the beginning. Now I can. So I will be working on tension in my face and my jawbone and inside my cheeks as I am watching something at night. So overall, there's actually probably several hours a day that I'm doing this release work, which I know sounds like a lot, but it feels really good, right? And it makes a huge difference. So even if you start with a small amount of that, and even if you do some tapping, right, a few minutes before bed, you're changing your signal that you're emitting and you're changing your future. So that's what I wanted to share today. I'm hoping Cloudia has something to add to that or some questions. So, Cloudia.
Yesterday morning, I did that. I laid in bed and just focused on what I was feeling. I totally agree that that is a really, really good thing to do. This morning, I laid in bed and thought and relaxed, but I don't think I knew what the tension was inside me. And in not knowing, I got a little confused on what I was feeling and how I was feeling. And I sort of got in a not a good place. So I can see where I really need to find out where that is to be more in the moment.
So there's different layers, right? What we're trying to do is eventually relax the body, right? So change our signal. So there's different ways to do that. There's different ways to access that. The first way is through thoughts, right? So what is it I'm thinking? So we can stay there and just examine the thoughts. What is it I'm thinking? What are the thoughts? What are the words I'm putting together into a sentence that I am reacting to? So we can work with the words themselves. And that's where tapping works really well, right? So if you've got the words, you can just tap on the words that are coming to mind. Then there's the emotions, which is kind of underneath the words. So if we're saying something to ourselves and then we're feeling, right, sad, frustrated, angry, depressed, lonely, any of those emotions, right, if we can find out what the emotion is, then we can do either two things. We can either tap with that emotion, right? So maybe I'm feeling really sad. I can tap on feeling sad using the words, but the words help us focus on that feeling inside. So I'm feeling sad. Or, right, so we can either tap with that emotion or we can just feel the emotion. So what does sadness feel inside of our body? Let's see if I can tune into sadness. For me, I can feel it in my chest, in my ribs. And if I can tune into that sadness and feel that tension in my ribs, that's another way of releasing that sadness. So either with the tapping or with the tuning into the physical sensations of the emotion. So that's the second layer. Then the layer underneath is the physical sensations themselves. So if you can, without using words, right, without using a thought or without using emotion, if you can just feel tension in the body, then you can work on that itself. So if you're feeling pain in a particular leg, right, pain in my right thigh, then I can tune into that pain itself, the physical sensation itself, and just feel it. Right. So that is a deeper level. Now, as I'm feeling it, It might be that emotion comes up or a thought comes up, right? In which case I can go back to the tapping on the thought that just came up, or the memory that just came up, or the emotion that came up. And then I can go back to feeling the tension in my right thigh. Right. So there's those three different layers. And it sounds to me like they're kind of getting confused in you in the morning. Is that correct?
Yesterday morning, I would say no. This morning, yes. I just, it's sort of like I just woke up negatively and I could not figure out why. I'm still working even with it right now, is why am I feeling negatively?
So you couldn't tell if it was a thought or an emotion or a physical sensation.
At that point, no, I could not. At this point, I think it's an emotion.
And can you tell what the emotion is?
I think confusion of what I want.
Okay. So those are words, right? So you put words to it so you could tap on the words, right? I'm in a bad place. I woke up this morning in a bad place because I'm confused as to what I want. Right? Those
Oh,
those would be the words to tap on and then see what comes up.
okay. Will you repeat those? I'm confused.
I woke up this morning in a bad place
I woke up this morning in a bad place
because I'm confused and I don't know what I want.
because I'm confused and I don't know what I want. Perfect. I
Okay.
will be tapping on those for a while now.
Okay. So you had a feeling like a feeling that you couldn't put words to, but when you thought about it, you could put some words to it. Yeah. And so now you've got some words.
To go deeper.
Yeah. Well, to use as a layer, doesn't matter which ones we use, right? You couldn't put your hands on the feeling itself, but you translate it into words, and now you can tap on those words.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, do you do anything else during the day?
Yes, I usually work in my yard. When I'm in my yard, I'm in my peace. And I love that part.
Okay, so you're
Then,
using that as a way to be present, to find the present moment.
right. And I sometimes have a hard time finding that present moment because my mind will go to the left, to the right, up and down, and all around. So if I focus on something else, my mind is not as busy. And I think my goal is that I don't want to have to spin or ask a question. I just want to be more at peace with myself.
Okay, well, I remember being there and having a really busy mind, but it took noticing when it was going other directions, right? And allowing those thoughts to be felt. So if I was out doing gardening and my mind went to some stress that I was feeling from something in my family, I wouldn't avoid it. I would actually work with it right then. Which you can do if you're out gardening, right? And you've got nothing else to do. If you notice that thought right then, you could actually stop and say, okay, I'm thinking this thought about this stressful situation in my family, right? And actually go into it, talk through the stress that you're thinking about right then go on with the gardening, right? Notice the next time your thoughts are pulled in a different direction. Stop, notice that thought, tap about that thought, right? Then move on. And that changes the energy around those thoughts and those experiences so that in the future, they won't come up quite the same way.
I like that. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
If the thought keeps coming to me, is that when I should maybe get up and go out to the garden and or do something else that
If
will
if which thoughts?
um like you said with my family, if something comes up while I'm gardening
Then
and
stop
I
and tap
feel,
on it.
stop, tap on it,
Then carry on with
back
the
to my
gardening.
gardening.
Yeah. You're just using it as a tool. You're using your mind as a tool at that point, right? You're just noticing what your mind is doing. And when it comes up with a new thought, okay, let's tap on that thought and allow yourself to get back to peace, to relax around it, then carry on. Okay, then what's the next thought? Whatever, let's tap on that one And that way you're using that time of gardening for deep inner work as well as gardening. You're multitasking.
Good, good. I like that. Sometimes I stay stuck and I can't get out.
Of the thought, even with the
Yeah,
tapping.
yeah, yeah. And that really confuses me, that it's like I feel like, why is this just me? Why can I not pull myself out of this hole?
Okay, then those are the words you use when you tap. Yeah, you tap on why is it just me? Why can I not pull myself out of this hole? Because that is a different level. That's a different thought than the actual, the thing you're working on, the hole that you're in, right? Why can't I pull myself out of it is a different thought.
Yes.
Yes. So it has actually shifted. There's been a shift there because you're now working on something different. So, as you're working on then this, why can't I pull myself out of this hole? Maybe some memory will pop up as to another hole that you were in the past, and then you'll tap on that. So it actually will lead you, right? Your subconscious mind will lead you down a path if you're open to it, right? If you can notice it. Because a lot of people will get caught in that thought of why can't I get out of this? And they won't tap about that, right? They'll get stuck in that why can't I get out of it, right? In that thought and not realize, oh, that's something I can tap on. Why can't I get out of this?
Yes, I've been there.
Yeah. Okay, but you're becoming more aware as you
I
go.
am becoming more aware and I know it. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm not aware anymore. I'm stuck in that hole again.
Yeah, and that's the spiral nature of life, right? Well, two steps forward, one step back. We'll get caught in something again, and it just means we got more work to do.
Oh, I have lots of work to do. Yes, I agree. And I think your example of what you do in the morning is great. And I think before I go to bed tonight, and I do tap before I go to bed, and I tighten my body and I relax, I breathe. I breathe short, shallow, long, deep. I'm learning.
Uh-huh.
And I think yesterday morning, before getting up and just doing it, and I tried doing it this morning and it just went sideways.
Which will generally mean there's a thought there or something happened and we haven't fully processed it. And so if we can find it rather than suppress it, right? I know you might not do this, but if someone jumped out of bed and got on with their day and didn't address it, it will still be there. It will still sit there. So if you spend some time and just notice, or even just start tapping and allow the thoughts to come, then you can, release it and move on with the day.
I like that. Just start tapping and let it come.
Almost like you were journaling, right? What would you write down if you were going to write in a journal? Just start using those words and tap through that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, I always need you.
Okay, well, thanks everybody. Please join us another time. I'll be here each Tuesday, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So they're open to anyone. Anyone's got any questions, just hop on and ask them. Thanks a lot. Have a good week. Bye.
Okay. Bye.